Hello there and welcome to a new episode of the Terrace Scottish Football Podcast. You are listening to Craig Telfer and right now I am joined by my close associate Shaughan McGuigan.
Hello there.
And on this occasion we are joined by a lower league icon, someone who enjoyed a stellar career but has known nothing but success since moving into part-time football with Arbroath 2 years ago. He is the metronome, the tempo setter, the beating heart of this Lichties side. Yes, it is Ryan Flynn. Ryan, brilliant to have you on the show with us.
Thanks for having me, and what an intro that is, that's for sure.
Listen, you only get the best in this podcast and you absolutely deserve it. You know, this podcast has been about 6 months in the making since you and I discussed doing it, so it's actually brilliant to finally get the ball on the line and get you on the show.
No, obviously it's been a long time coming, but we've got there in the end.
Yes, that's right. And as we are recording, Ryan, we're approaching the finishing line of the championship season. Arbroath are in third place and barring an inexplicable loss of form, they are going to finish in the promotion playoffs. How would you sum up the season so far?
I think the first thing is it's an incredible achievement from everyone associated with Arbroath.
Mm-hmm.
With 6 games to go, or 7 or 6. 7 or 6 games, I can't remember now. But we're now mathematically safe. And I think if you asked anybody at the start of the season, is that possible? The answer would be no. And then the fact that it's probably only 3 teams that are in that case is incredible, that a lot of other bigger names, including Raith Rovers, that Shaughan won't be happy with that. But obviously they got a big result at the weekend. But in the main, it's been incredible from pretty much when I joined. It's just been an upward curve. And there's been a lot of chops and changes with players and recruitment, but everyone that came in has contributed massively. And obviously a lot of the credit goes to the 2 young managers in Colin Hamilton and David Gold.
You said there, Ryan, a lot of people have expected Arbroath. I thought you'd have a strong season, but I thought a strong season would have been 7th or 8th place. I thought you'd enough about you to stay up. I would never have seen this team quite literally challenging to get into the Premiership. What do you put that down to? Why do you think the season's been as good as it has been?
I think probably the biggest part is never too high, never too low. So obviously in the first 9 games, I think we spoke previously about the cup finals when you're going to play. We were eyeing Queen's Park, Airdrie, Morton. I think that was the basis that going into the season, those would be the teams that we would be really competing with throughout the season, probably trying to stay up. And then we obviously had some good results along the way, and we took a few heavy defeats early in the season. One to Raith Rovers 3-0, one to St Johnstone 3-0, and a heavy defeat. Really convincingly, didn't deserve anything, 5-0 at home to Dunfermline. Not just 5-0, but completely played off the park. But the week before, we had just went up to Ross County and got 3 points. So after that, it was sort of like, put that to bed, we move on, we've got Dunfermline. And when we got the heavy defeat from Dunfermline, it wasn't then panic stations, we've now been beat 5-0, all the noise. It was like, okay, lost 3 points, back to work, let's go for the next points, 3 points, whatever we can gain. And I think that's just been, most times we've had bad results, we've bounced back really well. So really even keel. A lot of experience in the changing room as well, which probably does help players that have been there and done it. And then there's real quality, not just the experienced players, the younger players that have came in and contributed massively. Real talents there that are probably going to have stellar careers throughout.
Yeah, we'll come on and touch on some of those, the makeup of the squad just shortly. But what have you made of your own appearance, your own performances, Ian, over the course of the season?
I've probably enjoyed this season more than last season.
Yeah,
just I think obviously I wasn't playing as much at St Mirren, and then you're sort of getting back into playing football, and then playing this season, you feel like, well, obviously when you take a heavy defeat to Dunfermline, you're sort of and playing Raith Rovers, and you're playing a good cowboy players, playing against Jason Holt at St Johnstone, people I know, and then you're thinking they are the better teams full time, and you really want to challenge yourself and push yourself, and it's probably that it gets you the bit between the teeth that you have to go and perform probably really well as a team as a whole, when we went back to Dunfermline after taking that 5-0 result. So those little challenges along the way, and it keeps me going, really.
And what about the Championship in general? Because I feel like it's been quite a curious division this season. I mean, maybe it always is, but in terms of this season, it feels like you have St Johnstone at the top. They might go on to win it. You would imagine they will, but Partick Thistle are just behind them in second. Then you have yourselves, Arbroath, in third. Then the rest of the division, the other 7 teams, it almost feels like they are just a general bunch of dumplings that can interchange with kind of one week to another. Like, what have you made of the league this season?
It's an old cliche. You can never predict the Scottish Championship. It really is that way. I mean, the amount of teams that people will tell me, oh, such and such are going to beat such and such, and I'm like, how can you say that? Like, from week to week. The amount of sort of tight games that there is, there's very few that get blown away. And I mean, credit to the teams as well. Like, I quite really enjoy when Dunfermline have went and done well in the Scottish Cup as well. Partick Thistle ran St Mirren close. I mean, the performance was outstanding on the day. So that's good as well. There's sometimes people say the Scottish Championship hasn't been as good this season. But I think it's maybe just, it's getting tighter and tighter. And I think Scottish football in general is getting tighter and tighter between all the teams within each league. I don't think there is, I think St Johnstone, over the whole squad, the amount of players and just the depth that they've got,
it
really counts. And even in January going and getting Fowler, those things just help them go over the line. There's obviously chops and changes with managers throughout the season. Look how Airdrie have bounced back. Shaughan Crichton's turned Queen's Park. I mean, I would definitely be one. When they lose your top goal scorer, goals are vitally important. It's so clear that that's the case. And then just the way he's galvanised that squad and got them like week after week performing well, playing well, and then picking up points on the back of it. It really is a credit probably to all the managers in the league that they're running everyone close. And then obviously you throw in the curveball off Ross County. You just never know what's coming. But they seem to have, again, found a way that they're now picking up points and it's really tight at the bottom of the league, and you can't really predict who's going to go down, but there's that many teams within it. One bad run and you can be in real trouble, and I'm thankful that we can't be involved in it now.
And what about Arbroath? Because you've been there for almost 2 years now. It feels like there's something quite unique about them in terms of a part-time club in Scotland, but what are they like to play for?
All I can say is I've loved it. I think throughout my career, I don't think I would ever envisaged going down this path. But when I decided not to stay at St Mirren, I definitely wanted to continue playing. I felt like I could still play, because if I stayed at St Mirren, I was basically retiring. I was going to sort of train and then coach the younger age groups, and it just wasn't for me. I just wasn't ready for that challenge. And then it was probably Marcus Fraser was one of the guys. He was like he knew Ryan Dow, and he was like, what a squad they've got. Like, they shouldn't be struggling at the bottom of that league. So it was one of the things, just went in. The boys have been great. And I think that's probably the biggest part. The changing rooms, I think when you finish football, so when I spoke to people, when I was thinking about going down more the coaching route at that point, you just miss the changing room. You miss it. I know it's not day to day, but you still get the Tuesday, Thursday. On a Saturday, you still get that buzz on a Saturday to play the big games. And they've got real quality players. Like Tam O'Brien is,
yeah.
I mean, he's outstanding. He's played part-time, but he could have been full-time. He's a fantastic centre half. And I mean, you've got guys like that, good people. The managers, they run their own companies, so they know how to manage people. And that's probably one thing from going full-time to part-time. It's been quite interesting. Just the way they go about managing people, I think, is really well. Because I think sometimes in full-time, because it's your job, I think you can be treated differently. It's sort of like you just got to turn up for your work, and there's less care. Throughout my career, I've sort of seen that, and that's probably the big that I think the way they manage people has definitely helped them transition into being managers at a very good level.
Interesting. I want to ask you about like David Gold and Colin Hamilton. You know, Sean and I have been following their progress over the past 2 years, and similarly, actually, you joined the club. Must have been about like a fortnight after they replaced Jim McIntyre, and since then it has just been like an upward curve. I don't know if it's because of you or it's because of the managers, but nevertheless, very successful there. What are they like to play under? Because I mean, we watched their interview, so that's our access into them. David Gold, super charismatic, really interesting, a scholar of the game. And then there's Colin Hamilton. But what are they kind of like to play under?
No, the biggest thing I'd say is probably like they're so humble. They are so humble. Like they're willing to learn. Obviously, David Gold's he does his coaching as a business, so it probably transitions on to taking drills within training. And then Colin Hamilton is a real manager of people,
right?
And he is very good with the players, and it's probably they've obviously known each other for years as well, so there's that trust and link between them. I always think it must be hard for them, sort of how they progress as co-managers, because it never really works, just from perception wise, which must be, but from the players in the change room, nothing's really changed. They took over. Obviously, they got full respect from the players. David Gold's had his testimonial at a club. Colin Hamilton will probably end up getting a testimonial at a club at some point. They've played numerous games. They are now it's probably one of the things, once you become a manager, it's borderline that they've retired, but they haven't. They're still training and things, keeping themselves fit. But yeah, it's I think the biggest thing is just them as people is massive. And as I said, they get full respect from everyone, and I think that shows by the performances that the players then put in.
Yeah. How do they take decisions between them? Is it one of them focuses more on the training tactics, one picks the team? How do they work together to basically run the club?
So that's probably one thing I wouldn't know. You'd probably have to ask them directly. It would be interesting though, when it comes to the big decisions and probably team selections, players' contracts. It must be hard for them in that degree, but from what I know, it looks like it's been very easy for them, the way they've went on this upward curve. So I don't know how they do it, but whatever they do, it's definitely working, and long may it continue while I'm around anyway.
Yeah, I would say that's the voice of a man that plays every week that's saying that. And on top of that as well, Ryan, the pair of them are younger than you. How does it feel to sort of basically take instructions and be managed by guys that are younger than you? It's not something you often see much in football.
I don't, probably never really thought about it. I remember I'm forgetting my age at times. Still think I'm hanging about with the younger players like Finlay Marshall, and I think I'm one of them. But no, I mean, I think in any role, I'm a player at the end of the day. They're the manager, so what they say goes, and it's probably the as I said, probably the biggest word was respect, and that's the way it will always be.
I always think anybody, whether it's a manager or a player who goes from, whether it's part-time to full-time or vice versa, I always think that must be some kind of change and something that's quite interesting. Like, how did that work from you in terms of dropping down from full-time to part-time? Was there anything that you were concerned about, or was it something that you always considered?
So initially, when I'd made the decision that I wasn't going to continue at St Mirren, I wanted to continue playing football, and of course it was full-time football, and the opportunity just never arose. I asked to sort of go and play elsewhere, and no one wanted me. Couldn't get any training anywhere. Literally no one. I ended up driving backwards and forwards to St Mirren just to keep fit. When in most days that I could go in there, and I just kept fit the whole time. And then there was always options to go part-time, but I was trying to stay, full focus was to stay full-time, and then I was going to go down the coaching route, which I've done. But I just, that was once I decided, right, there's no full-time club, I got to that stage, it's time to sign with someone and go and play some football and enjoy myself. So then I decided to sign with Arbroath, and in hindsight, it's been a wonderful decision. And then on the back of that, it frees you up for time that I've managed to put my time to good use and do other things from probably August 2024. The things that I've done, I've obviously never done previously as a player. So I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's ended up being the best decision that I've made.
Oh, brilliant, man! It's good to hear.
And I suppose you are one of the elder statesmen in the squad. How does that translate into the hierarchy of the squad? How does that work?
I suppose people would want to me to voice my opinion at times, but I think for me, me personally, it works probably best because you've got Tam O'Brien there, who is the living legend at Arbroath. That he is the number one. He's the captain. We'll follow his lead, and then I am the vice captain now at the club, just as it's went over time, and it seems like it's went seamlessly, really. But the main thing is he's the captain. What he says goes. There's a little leadership group that we've created. If there's like decisions to be made or things we need to push, sort of bonuses and things like that. But yeah, it's been fine. I'd probably ask them more than myself that have probably been in that leadership status, how they find it. But for me, it seems normal.
But it's interesting that you mentioned about that kind of vice captain role. So in terms of additional responsibilities or accountabilities, what does that entail?
Just putting in the armband, really. Yeah, because just leave it all. If there's things that's the captain's job. Even when he's injured, he can still produce the tickets and all the unnecessary jobs that needs to be dealt with. But yeah, put the armband on, lead the team out, put the coin toss. Even which way we're shooting, I'd probably ask Aidan McAdams and goals. See if he wants us to change. So, yeah.
In terms of you, when you walked into Arbroath, Ryan, you mentioned there it was not long after David Gold and Colin Hamilton had taken charge. The club were in a wee bit of a mess isn't the right word, but they had a poor start to the League One campaign. You know, Jim McIntyre had come in at the tail end of the previous season. I think there was 10 consecutive defeats. Maybe could have been moved on that summer and the role gone to Hamilton and Gold instead. But they find the club, the bottom of League One. You come in. What was the circumstances like? And tell us about the circumstances you found Arbroath in, and then how you went on that fantastic run over the second, third and fourth quarters of that season and ultimately won the league title quite comfortably as well.
I think the first bit was probably when I went in. It was just to bring calmness to it. I felt there was a real negativity about the whole club. You could feel it within training. Definitely within games, if things were going wrong, lacking goals, which is normally confidence when you've got the quality that the players that were on show. I do remember early on, we had a cup game. We won that. You get a wee bit of belief. We went down to Queen of the South, which was never, even if you're at top of the league in League One, it was never going to be an easy game. Mm-hmm. And we lost that, and I think it was like somebody switched off from a set piece or something, but there was a real negativity about losing it within the squad. Sort of like just people moaning within each other. And it was like, I was probably one of the times I would be vocal, I was like, that has to stop. Like, we're in it together. We can't be moaning at each other. When we lose a game, like, look at yourself first. And then just sort of try and build it up. Try not to lose games, pick up points here and there. Suddenly you're off the foot of the table. Now you're mid-table. Can we get the playoffs? Mm-hmm. All teams have fell away. I think it was Kelty Hearts started that season on fire.
That's right,
they were flying. Yep. Tidser left, went to Dunfermline. They dropped off. And then you start catching you. And as soon as you get that belief and that confidence, the togetherness in the squad, I always think that's massive. When you're near the bottom of the league or you're struggling, you need to be together. Any of my times at like fighting relegation, especially at St Mirren, the togetherness is the one that gets you over the line. Mm-hmm. And when you lose games, it's not the end of the world and you're pointing fingers. That cannot happen. And that's it. Just slowly but surely. I felt like it was like turning the ship. You just took so long. Like even when you're Ross County will probably be doing it just now. That like they might have had wins and draws, and it sort of gets you back in the mix. But people will still be like, "Oh, you're still at the bottom." But you can feel it turning. You can feel it like, no, we're now not losing games, and convincingly we're well within it. if we get beat, we maybe just get pipped. And we just kept churning it out. And then I think there was a real belief around Christmas time that over the hardest part of turning it around, and we would be there or thereabouts by the end of the season. And I think when we signed Sam Stanton, we had Andy Winter up top. Like, the players that we had, Fraser Taylor, yeah, it was like you were just, and then Aaron Muirhead coming.
Aye.
I think once it got to January, I think we might have lost a couple of games around then, but it was like, I felt like between now and the end of the season, we would win enough games that we would get over the line.
I just remember that, Ryan. Obviously, Stennismuir and Arbroath were sharing division at that time, and I remember when you brought in Sam Stanton and Aaron Muirhead, right, well, that's great. Nobody else in the division is going to be signing the calibre of those players. And those three players, Andy Winter as well, they would play a big part in ultimately seeing the team, quite like we mentioned, quite comfortably towards the finishing line. Yeah,
I mean, without a doubt. I mean, Andy Winter, he's obviously probably not hit the ground as running at Raith Rovers as probably he would have hoped, and people at the club, but he was a fantastic player for us up top. Gavin Riley hurt his MCL at that point, so we really needed someone. Callum Gallagher was struggling with injuries as well, so it came at a perfect time. Sam Stanton, outstanding, he still is. And when he came to us, I was like, he could be playing the Premiership without a doubt. He came into training, every time he was training, he was brilliant. So yeah, I think he's a top player, still is, and this season he's ended up playing on the right hand side, cutting inside for St Johnstone, picking up pockets. He actually played really well against Raith Rovers recently, causing loads of problems. Obviously, ended up missing that chance, which was unbelievable. And then, at the back, Aaron Muirhead came in. We had Keith Watson and Tam O'Brien. Squad depth at centre half. Keith Watson throughout that season was outstanding.
Yeah,
so to really be for with Aero coming in, he's been unbelievable for Arbroath and real success. And obviously, we'll be sad to see him go at the end of the season because he signed a pre-contract with Aaron, which that'll be a bad one for us to lose in.
You won the league. As a game, thankfully, I missed because I knew that it was going to end badly. But it was a 4-0 win over Stennismuir at Gayfield. That day, actually, I went with my girlfriend to watch, I think it was Edinburgh City 2, Elgin City 0. So I know how to treat a lady, take her for a wee day at Meadowbank. And then just we're sitting in a pub and just I asked if we could get the BBC Alba on for the match. It was just like the first goal went in, just like, right, this is not going to end well for us.
For the way we've done it was amazing. You're never going to play in a game where you're sort of going to win the league that convincingly, and then probably the sad bit, even at Stennismuir, you felt like that, the feeling, it just wasn't all right within the squad at that point. The wheels had came off. They weren't really challenging towards the end. It was a dip in form from Stennismuir. So
yeah,
I probably felt our bigger game we had a big game. The win machine was on. We had Cove. I think it was at home, 1-0 victory, and that was the one that was a hard fought game. And I probably felt that one the week before that was like, that's the one that's won us the league, and it probably was more a formality that we were going to win the league. But it was nice to be able to done it, that's for sure.
You really sound like you're enjoying yourself in part-time football with Arbroath, but what are the big differences? I know there'll be obvious ones like you've touched on there, you get more time to yourself and so on, but what are the big differences? As a pair of dumplings like us who have never kicked a ball in our lives, how would you explain the differences between part-time and full-time football, or being a part-time football to be a full-time football player?
I think a lot of onus on you have to look after yourself away from the game, especially at my age that I'm at. I don't think I would be able to perform how I'd want to perform if I didn't look after myself away from the game. At full time, there's no excuses. There really is no excuses. You live and breathe it. You're in every day. You normally have the facilities there. You have the physios. You have sports scientists. You have everything that you're at there at your pleasure to do what you need to do. You only have to do your hours of training when the manager needs you. Without that, you've got all the hours in the day to make sure you're right for the game. You can do your own analysis, whatever you want. So when it comes to part-time, especially maybe being easier for myself, you've got guys that are at work all day and then they come in and then I think it needs to be more enjoyment in training rather than the real tactical detail. There's obviously they get their point across, they give you detail, they give you information. A lot of that's on game day as well in meetings. But I feel like it's just short, sharp energy, keep the players happy, and it's probably the morale. If the morale's high, normally everything goes quite well. It's quite strange because obviously we're just at Dunny Pace as well. It's not like you have your own place. So it's just you get that maybe half an hour before training, a bit after training where you're around the guys. So there's less time spent together because sometimes people go, oh, what's he like? And you're like, don't actually see him that much. Do you know what I mean? You just go on to training, you train, you go home. So yeah, it is totally different that way from full-time football. But maybe it's age and stage. I'm just at the right age and stage of my career that I'm just loving every minute. Maybe the younger managers have helped me. Just the way they've went about it, them as people it's probably why I'm enjoying it. I don't know if I would have maybe enjoyed it as much at Arbroath in the years prior. So yeah, I've loved it. It is totally different. The hours that you put in is far less actual working hours, but it's probably I probably look after myself more away from football and just going to the gym and making sure I'm right for when it comes to the hard work and training on a Tuesday, Thursday and games on a Saturday. Because the actual hours are, say if you play on a Saturday, if you're full time on a Monday, some players don't really do anything. There might be a bit of analysis, but again, you can watch games back. We get sent games on our phones, on an email, and you can watch it back if you want. On a Tuesday, you're training, that'd just be like full time. Some teams are off Wednesdays or Thursdays. We're off a Wednesday, train a Thursday. It's sort of like full time. The only day you're probably missing is that short, sharp session on a Friday with full time football. So it's more just around the club and having more time to yourself, like to be a professional. When you're part time, it's more guys have got work and then they're doing that added on top. So that's a little bit, but they're definitely putting in the hours on the training field and be ready for the game day.
Did you find that difficult to adjust then from full-time into part-time football?
I don't think I did. I think I struggled more when I went from leaving St Mirren to not really doing anything. I think that was my not doing anything for a period of time till I signed with Arbroath. It was like purpose. I didn't have I was going into St Mirren and keep myself fit. It was more purpose, as in, I think once I got to Arbroath, I felt like, right, now I've got something, I've got a goal, I've got an aim, try and do as best I can, try and enjoy myself and probably try and turn it around at Arbroath. And then it was like, right, my transition is, I'm now going to have that coaching hat on of my next stage. I spoke to Andy Webster at Hearts Academy, went in initially volunteering, and then July, the start of this year, I mean, January last year, I was basically full-time, but it was all voluntary. I just loved it so much.
Brilliant.
The other guy I was working with, Scott Mills, he was great. It was under 14s at Hearts. And then July, I made it official, and I love it. Love the coaching. The group of guys that I work with, the boys, they're brilliant. So yeah, and that's probably again the purpose and the aim of where I'm going. But at the same time, I still get that buzz on a Saturday and that competitive edge that I still probably get out of my system when it comes to Tuesday, Thursdays, and then the real game day on a Saturday is where it arrives, and that's what you want.
Brilliant. You mentioned there about coaching and where you maybe go next. So I know you now have your UEFA A licence, and I did read some rumours, some street talk that and that's all it was, that maybe you could be involved at St Mirren with maybe like Stephen McGuigan, if there's some kind of new managerial or coaching setup. Would that be something that interested you at this moment in time?
It would. I think it's definitely not the case, but it's definitely something that would interest me. Sorry, two different questions there, but would it interest me without a doubt? I think when initially I was going to stay at St Mirren, I was going to be sort of still being around at training, but I was maybe going to be the first team coach. And when the goalpost got moved a little bit with that, and it was more of the academy, I was like, I don't think I was ready for that, because I feel I could do that. I could do it a different way, in which I sort of have done. But yeah, I've got my UEFA A, which I think you can be a manager at clubs with that. But I think I would like to be an assistant or a first team coach. Still, I think there's loads to learn in that. I think going straight in the deep end is difficult. I think managers that do it is credit themselves. I mean, Stephen McGuigan's someone I'm close with. I actually quite admired the way he's went about it. He was the 19, or it was the 18s at the time, St Mirren manager. Was pretty successful there, and I think if he stayed, he would probably be the interim manager at St Mirren, a little bit like Craig McLeish. But he went into, it's sort of like an apprenticeship. He's went to Falkirk and learning off a manager like John McGuigan. I mean, what a great apprenticeship that is. So I could see he'll definitely, for me, he'll definitely be a manager one day. He's definitely got the qualities. He'll definitely have the drive to do it. But for myself, I'm not ready to retire, but I think if the right opportunity came up in full-time football of being a coach, first team coach, assistant manager, I think that'd be when I would hang up the boots and go in it wholeheartedly. It's definitely something I'd be interested in the future, that's for sure.
Just on that, Ryan, say for instance at St Mirren they went and hired David Golden, Colin Hamilton, and Arbroath came to you and said, we want you to take the team. Is that something you'd feel comfortable doing? Something you'd want to do?
I'd say that's going back to being a manager though. I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm probably getting the best of both worlds at the moment, because obviously I get a bit of coaching at the Hearts, and that's what I probably, in my head, it's probably full-time coaching that I would retire for, because I think once you become a player manager, there's so much that comes with being a manager that you are pretty much retired. Do I see myself as the manager? Probably not. I always think I think I would be good at sort of being the number two or a first team coach. Sort of, people say that changes when you become a first team coach, assistant manager, then you actually want to be the manager. So maybe one day. I still probably feel it's a little bit too early though.
Let's leave it to Tam O'Brien. He can take charge. He does everything else. Just give it to Tam.
Exactly.
One of the other kind of interesting things that you are ideally placed to discuss is a comparison between English football and Scottish football. So you have played down south for Oldham, Sheffield United, very, very popular player at Bramall Lane. In terms of, say, the English League One, for example, how would you compare that to maybe the Scottish Championship, for example?
So the biggest thing I always said, it was everyone was so athletic down there. That was the biggest part. That was, some players wouldn't be as maybe talented, have the ability, but I do feel up in Scotland we're a lot smaller. And I think I always feel like that's the big bear, and you could go down, you could play teams. I remember playing Stevenage and they were just landed the Giants, and they weren't a particularly good side, but it was very difficult to play against them. So I think that was the biggest part, as in you'll have seen players going up and down either way, and some players will go, like, I remember Ricardo Vazte coming up to Hibs and really struggling. He never really hit the ground running. Then he's scoring goals for West Ham in the Premiership in Bolton, and I think he scored a winner in a playoff final, and it's just chalk and cheese. And then some players are in Scotland, they go down for like a season, they don't work straight back up the road. It happens time and time again. It's borderline in two different worlds. I think the hardest bit is I feel you have to go to the right club. I think I was quite lucky going to Sheffield United, which was a big club in the smaller league at the time. It was in League One. Compared to when I went to Oldham, it didn't fit. Just sort of fighting and things that went on at that club. It really was wild. It was it's probably the only 18 months in my career that I really didn't enjoy. Just the way the club was run. It was a shambles. And then when things aren't going well at the top, it definitely filters down. You feel it whether you like it or not. But it's hard as in player for player ability, because, as I said, there's players thrive in different environments, and that's probably the best way of putting it.
Just on that about Oldham, sorry Sean, but just on that about Oldham, was there any examples of sort of like the wackiness at Oldham that you had to deal with during that 18 months?
Yeah, so the easiest one I would say is, so it was Stephen Robinson was actually manager.
Right.
I was ill, played Lincoln in the FA Cup, and we lost 3-2. I think it was on TV at that time. And then the boys were obviously texting me after the game, like, chairman came in, said this, and this. And I'm like, whatever. I just thought they were all like lying. And one of them was, you're in 9 till 5. There's no breakfast or lunches anymore. And there's other things. And you're just like, so I come in and generally that's what happened. It was like, you couldn't get breakfast.
You have to take a packed lunch.
I'm walking up to the corner shop to get like sandwiches and that for lunch. And then obviously we started bringing our own food in, but you didn't sort of believe that was going to happen. You'd maybe do a double session and then you're just waiting about. We never got paid on time, ever. It was either, I think once we were 3 days early, but apart from that, we're always late. It was just, and I think we were supposed to be off Christmas Day. So my wife and that was my one son, they went back up the road because I was going to go up after. And then at the last minute, from the top, you got to be in Christmas Day. So then I was in Christmas Day. I had to tell my wife and mum and dad that like they end up coming down, thankfully, which is good because obviously not that far away. But then I was thinking of like the Irish boys and that have maybe have booked flights and things like that. Just when I go back to talking about Colin Hamilton, David Gold, like managing people, like I don't really know how you're going to succeed doing that. And then they had to change the chairman. There was a foreign owner came in, a lot of foreign players came in. They started, I think Stephen Robinson was away at this point and they were told to play. It become a circus. It really did. And you're stuck in the middle, and obviously fans are probably moaning, hating and judging the players in the park. We managed to stay up that season, but it was ultimately a sinking ship, and it was always coming. And it was no surprise that I left in the January. I think Richie Wellens was the manager. I was at St Mirren, and then by the end of that season they had plummeted and got relegated, and then they just kept going down the leagues. And it was no real surprise the way it was. These things happen, the way it's run, and it's just so like knee-jerk decisions that it just hampers everyone, and you don't get any progress anywhere. Good players leave the club, you're like, why are they leaving? It baffled me every time.
Other than that though, a good 18 months there.
Oh, honestly, that 18 months. Thing is, at the club, there's so many good people, and you think, when you talk about Arbroath, for those guys that have been there for years and seen it all, there was good people around that club that are just somebody suffering there. I'm like, that's their club. Mm-hmm. And that's the bit you feel for. And like, obviously, I'm that 18 months, and then you leave, and I'm so thankful to get away. And I was just delighted to get back up the road and enjoy football, enjoy life again. And then those people are just going to suffer through it. And that's the ones you feel sorry for, those. And the fans. The fans are the ones that take the brunt of it and go follow the club wherever they're. Thankfully, they're now picking up and they're doing well now.
I mean, it sounds like there might not be, or maybe just from your time at Sheffield United, but is there anything from your time down south that you think maybe Scottish football could maybe learn from to maybe improve it going forward?
Sometimes I think they just market it. I think a lot of things better. I do. I think we're brilliant for putting everyone down, like whatever it is. Anything Scottish, we just put it down compared to anyone else. It's Scottish refs are worse. I think everyone complains about the referees. VR's worse. It's probably terrible everywhere. I think they do market their game well. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's more teams, there is more money, which probably brings in more. I do like the way, because of the bigger leagues and the playoff system, ours is probably good, but I don't know, could it be better? Could it maybe a bigger league? I don't know. I don't know how you'd work it. I don't have the answers, that's for sure. But definitely the playoff excitement. They have a lot of teams, though. A lot of teams go up and down, get relegated. I don't know. It's really difficult, that one. My one thing is they do market down there so well that they just make everything seem so much better than it probably really is. I don't think Scottish football's that bad at times, that's why.
No, I absolutely I agree with you. I love Scottish football, but you're right. It is very easy to talk it down. I was going to ask you about your time at St Mirren, because you joined the club when they were pretty much under Jack Ross, very successful, and he talked about turning around the sinking ship. Very popular at his time at St Mirren for one, keeping them in the Championship, and then the following season taking them up. And you joined halfway through that season when they were very much on an upward curve. I don't know what it is. You must just have this promotion aura about you, Ryan. So what was it like to join St Mirren during that period? And tell us a wee bit about your time at the club.
Oh, honestly, like, as I said, like, I've spoke about my Oldham time, but see, then I joined St Mirren. I just loved it. I obviously spoke to Stephen McGuigan. Stephen McGuigan was a big factor in me joining St Mirren. Obviously, I was with him at Sheffield United. He was just telling me how good it was, and he was completely right. The squad of players, the talent within the dressing room, obviously Lewis Morgan, Kyle McGuinness were two young players that were outstanding. Cammy Smith was there flying, Gavin Riley was there. I mean, it was real quality within the squad. And then Jack Ross was brilliant. He really was. Again, probably managing people. He had a great aura about him of, see, around the club, you could speak to him, he'd seem really normal. And then it was like meetings on the training pitch. It just changed. He was the manager and real authority. And I just loved the way he changed. And you could be having breakfast, sitting with him, be talking day-to-day life. He was brilliant. He'd have a laugh and joke. Danny Milne was there. He was a great character. And there was a real togetherness at the squad. And then it just went on up. I was gutted that he left. But I mean, if you're going to leave, I mean, it was a big job he was taking. And probably
Sunderland, wasn't it?
Sunderland, yeah, he went to Sunderland. I'd probably just, I think he's a really good man manager, and obviously he's got a great job at Newcastle now. But he's probably a manager that I think should always sort of be in the game, because I think he was really good. And he had his time at Hibs where he was successful as well. I mean, it was just that bad time at Dundee United, and he sort of never went back to it. A little bit like, going on to change the subject, but Stephen Presley was great in my early days at Falkirk. He was outstanding. And I was actually one, I always wanted him to be a manager again, because he was so good. And when he was getting that rough time at Dundee, I spoke to, it was Jack Wilkie at Arbroath. He says, the boys are loving him. This was early on. So it was great to see that eventually come too. It was great. But St Mirren wasn't all upward curve. There definitely was loads of bumps along the way, and transitions with managers changes, and a lot went on at St Mirren. But thankfully we always stayed in the Premiership and managed to, the club did progress year on year, and obviously it's not been plain sailing this season, but they got the League Cup in the bag, and it's probably well deserved over the period that they've had, and on that sort of overall upward curve.
You reminded me as well about playing for Falkirk, and I know that might not be a particularly good memory, because you were part of the team that were relegated out of the SPL. And am I right in saying, you'll need to remind, did you miss a pretty good chance against Kilmarnock? Am I right in saying?
Yeah, you sound like a Stenhousemuir fan there, Craig, if by any chance.
You know, something that's like, just a wee peek behind the curtain. Shaughan and I have got a list of questions, and it's only now that we're talking that all this sort of stuff's like this sort of stuff's coming back. You know, I mean, you're right, like sort of talking about you at the time at Falkirk in the relegation.
So when so I was initially at Liverpool, and it got to a stage where I wanted to go and play football, but I wanted to go home. Eddie May was now the manager back at Falkirk. And he was in the youth, obviously the youth set up. So, and then there's also players within my team. So Tam Scobie, Scott Arfield, there's Dane Robertson, Brian Allison, that sort of, they were in my youth team and were now sort of some on the outskirts, but some actually playing and performing well. So it was like, go back, go and play, go and like.
That's right. Sorry, Ryan, because you initially you came through the youth ranks at Falkirk, then moved to Liverpool, and then went back to Falkirk. Am I right saying? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so went back. Gutted it was probably didn't do it for Eddie May. Obviously he was a good guy and just wanted to perform for a while, but it just wasn't, as a team, we just didn't click. We weren't performing well. We're probably definitely going to go down at that stage. Stephen Presley came in and just, he's charismatic, isn't he? And he sort of just gets that belief in you, even when you probably looking back, probably the team wasn't good enough, and probably rightly so went down. We always conceded goals. We were never a real penalty. And I'd say we're nice box to box, but where it counts in both penalty areas, we did lack a lot. But when it got to that day, I genuinely believed I was going to be the one that's probably going at the game or younger, and I was like, I'll be the one that'll get us over the line, score the goal. And I kept going, and it was a chance. Read a flick on, free as a bird, maybe penalty spot, volley. I probably thinking about the celebration or whatever, but I didn't even hit the target. It was blazed over the bar, and I was gutted. That was a sore one to take. And it was obviously youth team level. Even at Liverpool, I was always successful. We won like youth cup, won the reserve league, come to first team football. Probably just always had that belief that it will come right. But yeah, I think it's maybe, I don't even know how, maybe 5 minutes, maybe even close at the end of the game. I can't remember. But definitely had a chance to go 1-0 up, win the game, and we would have went up, Kilmarnock would have went down. Wasn't the case. 0-0 on the night, I'm sure. And then, yeah, relegated in that. It was a real sickener. And stayed another season, hoping to get up. But I'm sure it was Dunfermline that won the league as well. So that was another sore one to take. The following season, then I left, went back down the road to Sheffield United. So that was it was a hard time. I loved it at Falkirk though. Like, didn't do well as in the team, but the group of guys and the manager, it was brilliant. It really was, to go in day out. I loved going in. I loved everything about it. I just wish we could have done better as a team. But probably hand on heart, I don't think we were good enough.
See, in terms of missing that chance, and you said that you were gutted. How long does that feeling last?
I don't know. I mean, I know what I did the following day. It was me, my wife now, my best mate and his girlfriend at the time. We just went out. It was a place called Barco, and I was just having shot after shot, I think. So not the right answer to go with, but just had a night, and that was it. Just write it off and then back to work. I mean, there's nothing you can really do about it.
Yeah.
Get back going and working day in, day out. It is a sickener. Probably nothing I could do. It definitely was hard to take. And probably seeing the club get back there. I was actually in the night when Falkirk beat Hamilton. I was at the stadium, and it was just nice seeing like those people around it, like getting back to the top and they're flying.
Yeah.
And I was actually in, because actually I've had that time, I was in John McGunn's brilliant. He allowed me into watch their training and their video analysis and things this season, one of their weeks, and brilliant. And again, talking about it's no fluke that they're flying, and like the wheels aren't going to come off there just the way it's not just the manager, the group of players, it's everything around it within the club, and they really are flying, and the place is bouncing again. So it's probably wee things that still cushion the blow when they're back up and running. And see when they were in the lower leagues, it does hurt because you feel a big part of the problem that's been caused there.
I loved it.
I'm sure I listened to you describing their fall in League One year recently.
But you know something, Ryan, though. Just about that, I got a message from the guys that do the Falkirk Daft podcast, like Ross and John, and they mentioned about us talking about that in A View from the Terrace, and I replied saying, yeah, it's good fun, but you can't be as head over heels with how good things are going at just now. You need, I'm going to quote Dolly Parton, but if you want the rainbow, you've got to put up with the rain. And the fact that Falkirk have been through that bad time, 5 years in League One, like a dreadful period, but now the fact that the club are doing so well, you can look back at the bad times and just think, well, this is what makes these good times more sweeter. And I don't know if that's the same for you as a football player. You maybe look at the setbacks and then look at what you've achieved since then and just think that that's what it's all about. That's maybe life, roller coasters. Am I quoting Ronan Keating now as well? I'm going off tangent here. But does that make sense? Does that make sense?
No, so probably one of the things I would always say is like, I definitely live and breathe football. I definitely, when I was younger, I would take defeats harder. And I think it was probably once my first son was born that you get home and why are you stewing over it for days? Do you know what I mean? Like the defeat on the Saturday and you're just raging. So that's probably the big thing. Yeah, you definitely look back at it. I mean, there's a lot more lows than there is highs within football, unless you're one of the top players like Cal McGregor that you sort of win every season. Majority of footballers, that's not the case. I mean, my son's always asking me why I've not won more trophies. I'm saying it's pretty hard when everyone else is trying as well. So yeah, it's difficult. And I always remember being at my first year at Sheffield United. We got to the playoff final. Got to the playoff final, and I remember like senior pros at the time saying, "This doesn't happen often. I'm whatever age. Like, don't take this for granted." And I mean, he was right. Never go back to the playoff final again. Went down to penalties. It went down to Steve Simonson, who ended up at Rangers. Do you remember him?
Yeah, aye.
Went down to the goalies. Scott Arfield actually was at Huddersfield at the time. Him and Callum Higginbottom were at Huddersfield. And Steve Simonson basically took a goal kick. It was higher than my volley against Kilmarnock. And then their keeper scored, and that was it all over for the dream of getting promoted in my first year at Sheffield United. So yeah, it's hard to win trophies, and there's a lot more lows than highs, but you've just got to enjoy those moments like Falkirk are doing now. They have to enjoy it.
Yeah, of course. As well as being a pretty good player, you're also a pretty good pundit as well, Ryan. And you and I, that's pretty much how you and I have got to know each other over the past 6 months. You and I have been working on the BBC Sports Scotland's daily football podcast. I think it's always paired together on a Tuesday morning to basically talk about the lower league. So it's always great fun. How did the chance for you to get involved with that come about?
So initially, as soon as I was assigned with Arbroath, I actually spoke to, not so much the podcast, it was I spoke to James Hunter at St Mirren, the media team, because he had asked me previously when I was a player, would I like do the co-coms? So I asked him, and he says, yeah, absolutely. Got involved with that. Went to my first game at Ibrox, and I speak about the buzz of playing on a Saturday. I get a real buzz when I play on a Saturday, that challenge and competing. So when it comes to watching the game, St Mirren versus Rangers, I actually walked away with a bit of a buzz.
Class.
Doing the game, obviously, and another bit is like you're learning as you go. And I was calling Charles Dunn Chile, but obviously knowing him well and nicknames. For St Mirren TV, that's obviously okay. And you know the players, you know the manager, you know everything about it. And I really enjoyed it. And I bumped into Alistair Lamont at one of the games. And I think he was the one that sort of put my name forward behind the scenes. And I think it was sort of him that said that there's somebody interested in these sort of out doing sort of co-coms with St Mirren. And I think it was sort of Alistair Lamont that sort of put me forward, and I just got a message and an opportunity. So I've never really pushed anything. I've just sort of take things as it comes. I think you're going into a total different world. It's a little bit like the coaching. I don't think because I've been a player, I know it. I feel like I'm starting from scratch, learn off guys that have done it, and ask for feedback as well, so that we look to improve. So it's obviously early days for me in that respect, but the biggest thing I'm saying is it's like when I finish football, I want to find things that I really enjoy. Went in the coaching side, loving it, and I'm really enjoying obviously the Tuesday mornings. I mean, it's 6:30 in the morning, but I really do love it. I mean, the time flies when we're doing it. And I managed to get a chance with Tam Cowan and Stuart Cosgrove on the off the ball, and they were a different class. And I mean, again, that was 2 hours, and it flew by.
Yeah,
they're obviously they're top of the top, they're elite, and it was great to sort of see them at work. So yeah, it's obviously early days, but August 2024 to sort of March 2026, the sort of the bits and pieces that I've done, sort of with coaching, media, and sort of badges, and I've done a football management course through the PFA that was really good as well. So I've done bits and pieces around it, that just sort of planning for next stages, but loving sort of every minute and the time that I'm putting into it. And I try and get better. That's the big bit. When obviously listen to you guys as well and A View for the Terrace.
Oh, you're doing the wrong thing if you want folk to try and like watch it.
To
Folk
be
that
fair,
are good
no,
at it, Ryan.
No, you just give me some fuel when you're picking Queen's Park at the weekend there, so don't worry, that'll be mentioned tomorrow.
just on the punditry, because like I find it so interesting. Like outside of like actual Edinburgh City supporters and myself and Shaughan, you're the only other person that I've come across that actually takes an interest in how they're doing. And I want to find out, Ryan, what have you made of their campaign so far, and can Michael McIndoe turn it around?
I was actually checking the points again. I was checking the table when I was driving actually down the road. I'm obviously car sharing after the game, and it looks grim now, doesn't it? I mean, when you're trying to, I just think, see points in the bag at this stage of the season, it's massive. People always say, oh, if they win this game in hand, or they win or this. I mean, it's just grim reading when you look at the table. The only thing is, can they win that playoff game?
Yeah,
to keep them up. But I mean, it's probably because you're flying the flag for them all the time that it's more entertainment when it really shouldn't be.
I found that
I'm not the only one that is. Ryan Dow, see my team, he listens to every single interview in Michael McIndoe. Yeah, honestly.
That's amazing.
You're probably more surprised. There is a lot of guys out there that do pay attention to a lot of what's going on in Scottish football.
How many of them listen to Peter Murphy's interviews? What about
that? Probably Gavin Riley. He'll be looking to go back and get that. So yeah, but now there's a lot of guys. Honestly, there is a lot of guys that do pay attention and know a lot of in and outs. That's what's going on at the lower ends of Scottish football.
It's just, that's one thing I've noticed, because there's sometimes that you kind of, people sort of like they're aware of the division, the team they play from, the division they're in. So, but when you kind of further down to one of the smallest clubs in the entire SPFL, it's actually great that somebody sits and watches this post-match interview as well. I remember the first time speaking, my face just lit up when you were talking about him. I thought, wow, it's great to meet somebody who just gets it. Fantastic.
It was it's even like, obviously there's guys as well. So like I was on the UEFA licence with Andy Graham. Like what a guy he was.
Yeah. We actually interviewed him. We did a big interview with him last week. He's smashing big guy.
And like just like love him as a guy. He was taught with every candidate on the course. And then I probably admire him how he balances like work, life, manager. When he was doing the UEFA licence, I was just like in awe how he managed to juggle it all and not drop anything. So now I was listening to his interviews as well, and brilliant. And then there's guys like Billy Mackay. I played with Billy Mackay for 6 months at Inverness, and then I see him sort of doing well with Scott Kelleher up there, and the brandy football they play, and I sort of still speak to him and things like that. And it's great. It's just guys you come in throughout your career and they go into different things. I mean, look at Craig McLeish. He's another one. He was at Falkirk we're both younger at Falkirk, and he's now interim manager. So there's loads of things that just cross over. And that's probably, people ask me, who do you support? It's probably one it's like, I'm not affiliated with a team. I always go Scotland games. That's where I take my kids to Scotland games. But when it comes to, I just want people I know to do well within the game. That's probably the real big one. And that's, you always want it. The one that hurt me was Arbroath never getting promoted against Kilmarnock.
Yeah.
My closest mate, Jason Thompson, was at Arbroath at the time.
Right.
And then they didn't make it, and I was gutted. And then I remember phoning up my best mate who's a Hearts fan, and I was like, how do you do that every week? Like, really support a team, and that must crush you. You know what I mean? That real affiliation with a club, it must be so hard.
As well, just you live, or if you're from the same place as Stennismuir manager Gary Naismith, what have you, just indulge me, Ryan, what have you made of the job that he's done with the Warriors?
You know the answer to that one. What a remarkable job he's done. I mean, it's unbelievable, isn't it, really? I mean, I think especially this season, because when they were flying last year, as I said, the wheels came off, and then they were actually going to sign Aaron Steele in the summer, and then there was real money troubles behind the scenes, and then just how he's turned it around, and it's probably you're talking to the guys behind the scenes, obviously Buchanan, centre half, like those guys will be the main guys that will be holding that together, and then you get the sort of little gems around it, then add to it, and then really push it on. But they'll be the ones that through that hard time, they'll hold it all together, the main core. But I mean, the manager takes all the credit. A fellow guy for Lonehead, so yeah, I actually played against him years ago. He was at Huddersfield at the time, so it's incredible, really. He obviously had a top career, and
yeah.
I mean, why not? People obviously turn their nose up at part-time managers and things at times, and maybe he's older, but I mean, look at the job he's done. Why couldn't he then go full-time and produce? He'll have seen and dealt with so much. I think managers must deal with so much with budgets and things like it must be clawing to get an extra few quid here and there in sponsorships to really get a squad together to meet expectations. When you go full-time, maybe that becomes easier and you can really show what you've got. I don't see why managers can then bounce again and go again.
No, listen, enough of the guarantees. We need to give Ryan Flynn's of this world the opportunity to go out into management and show what they can do.
Maybe one day, but hopefully we can. I'm still enjoying playing, but as I said, when it comes to the full-time gig, I'll definitely hang up the boots when that opportunity comes.
It is interesting though, because you mentioned Andy Graham and how many things that he's juggling. But in terms of yourself, so you've moved down to part-time football, you're doing the coaching badges, you are doing the punditry, you think you turn 38 later this year. Like, how much fuel in the tank is there in terms of your playing career?
I definitely just base it season on season now, but I'm going to go again next year as it stands, unless there's that opportunity wherever it is to go into sort of coaching full time. But as it stands, I still feel fine, still feel fit, so I'm committing to another year playing, and then on the back of that, it's the same with the coaching. I think football moves so quickly and things change so quickly. I mean, even if you went 2 years ago and you watch like old games or see old teams, you're like, how much has that changed at that club? Or I mean, Falkirk would be a great example, but it can be the flip of that. The teams that could go down and down. Ross County could be that soon. You go, how did that happen? So I don't think you can plan too far ahead. I probably have goals and aims and things that will tick off along the way, but I'm ready to adapt when things come.
And in terms of maybe a final question, and maybe the biggest question that you're going to get asked on this podcast, can Arbroath win promotion to the Premiership this season?
I would go, can you? Yes, you can. I would say yes, you can. But is it likely? Very unlikely. I just think when I'm talking about what could change between the England and Scotland, that playoff system is just so difficult. I think. I mean, I don't know what the stats are on it, but has there many teams got promoted from finishing third and fourth?
Oh, that's a good question.
Has anybody done it? Not sure. Certainly nobody's done it from fourth.
And I just think that's finishing second, and then you have sort of the midweek game, which links to the same as if you're in the Premiership, they have a midweek game on the Wednesday before they play like the relegation final game. It's normally on a Sunday in the Premiership. Where I think, like, imagine a part-time team making the playoffs and playing Tuesday, Saturday, Thursday, Sunday, or whatever it is. I mean,
Law of averages. Somebody has to do it eventually.
So I mean, it really is probably far-fetched dreamland scenario. Obviously we've spoke a few times, Craig, about generally it was the playoff relegation. So like we were having a laugh and joke obviously after the game. I was going, right lads, we've secured championship status. What's the plan now? So the boys are great, and now it's try and get the playoffs. Like, and it's not secured. We are in a nice position, but it's not secured getting the playoffs. And then it's, once you get, as I've said, things change quickly. Once you're in the playoffs, it's like, right, who have we got? I mean, if we've got Dunfermline or Ayr, it's teams that we've been around, they are top teams, but we have performed well against the top teams as well. Like, we've beat St Johnstone this year, we've beat Partick Thistle, we've beat Dunfermline. Why not? Like, why not? Can you not take them over too? Like, I don't think we'd go in the game, we're under no pressure. That's probably what I would say. So we just go and embrace it and challenge it, enjoy it, and hopefully it can.
Feels like you're talking yourself around here.
No, not at all. Generally, I don't think we're, as I've said, we're never too high, never too low. I mean, we would just enjoy it. I mean, loved it with the group of guys that is in that change room. That's probably the biggest part. So why not? I mean, on the flip of that, if you're one of the full-time teams coming to play the part-time team, I'm sure that's probably thinking, oh no, we can't get beat. It's probably that way. They'll be looking at it. And can you sort of use that to your advantage and keep getting over that hurdle? I mean, I definitely, I'm deep down, will I be trying to aim, as I said, the challenges and push myself? That's definitely what I'll be trying to do. Try and get Arbroath into the playoffs. Can you get through the first round? Can you get through the second round? Why not? I mean, I was disappointed we didn't go far in the Challenge Cup, because I thought it was a good opportunity to try and get to the final and win something. As I've said, my son's on my case about no winning enough. So then when we got beat for Airdrie in penalties and the Scottish Cup and the Challenge Cup, as I said, I'm not pleased when I get beat. So I don't like the opportunities passing you by, because I don't have many games, let alone seasons, left.
Well, listen, Ryan, good luck for the rest of the season. Good luck in the playoffs and good luck in the Premiership next season. We're really looking forward to seeing you strutting your stuff on the biggest stage of them all. That was absolutely brilliant, man. Great. Thank you very much for taking the time out to hang out with myself and Shaughan. Really appreciate it.
Nah, it's a pleasure, guys. I've loved it. Cheers.
Brilliant. I'd also like to remind listeners to subscribe to The Terrace. Go to theterrace.scot/subscribe. You can access every podcast and article on our new website and app for just £1 for the first 3 months. It's incredible value. The new app is class and is only going to get better and better. Shaughan, thank you very much. I will no doubt see you at some point again in the future.
No, thank you.
And Ryan, I'll just repeat, I will no doubt see you again in the future as well.
Hours away.
Brilliant. Listen, thank you very much to you listening. Enjoy your football, but please do so respectfully. Thank you.